Welcome to this week's installment of the first ever Tarot Which Way. Um, I came up with the idea for Tarot Every Which Way because a long time ago I had done a reading for somebody who was a parent of a severely autistic child, and she had said to me she was trying to get some of the concepts that were involved in the cards across to him, and that was very difficult because he had limited ability in that area. So I started thinking a lot about tarot and food, and that was about maybe, I think, 15 years ago. And I started thinking that there were certain correspondences and there were certain things that went together about tarot and food, and I want to share those with you today. I'm doing a workshop on July 29th at the Tarot Society in Brooklyn if anybody wants to come to that. But if they can't make it, or if they want to know more about tarot and food, please tune into this series. We're going to do one every week for the next 21 weeks for each of the cards. So that should be exciting. We had a little bit of technical difficulties tonight, so I'm going to upload this to Facebook and upload it to YouTube as well. We were live on Instagram, and I really appreciate everybody who was there and joined me. But we're going to be talking about the Fool tonight, and we're going to be making Fool's Deviled Eggs. I have a couple of Fool's cards here for you. This is the Fool from the Wild Unknown Tarot. This is a very popular tarot deck that's been in the works. It's based on a Bob Dylan phrase. That's why it's called The Wild Unknown. I did a wonderful review of it on my blog, Voodoo Universe, so please check that out on Pathos. Just Google Voodoo Universe and you'll find it. But this is the Fool card, and I like this, especially since we're going to be making deviled eggs tonight, because, you know, it's talking about this imagery of the baby bird. We're talking about newness. We're talking about looking at the world with new eyes. We're talking about bringing joy and fun and foolishness to a situation. And I think that's really the base of what's at the heart of the Fool card. You can certainly see that in other decks. This is the New Orleans Voodoo Tarot, which I read with. It was put together by my dear friend Priest Lou Martinet and Sally Ann Glassman. And this has it again, where she and he are talking about eggs. They're talking about the sort of Ouroboros serpent symbolism. So it's both the end and the beginning, that you're swallowing yourself, that you're devouring your innermost birth and knowledge and being reborn through that. So I think that's a very interesting image that we can have from that deck. I also have the Tarot of the Orishas here, where the Fool card is seen as Elegua and Elegba, different forms of Elegua, the trickster god, in the religion of Lukumi, La Regla Lukumi, better known as Santeria to people who are not practitioners of it. And then I also have the Tarot of the Burrows, done by Courtney Weber and George Courtney, which I think this is interesting because the photographer George Courtney is actually the seeker here on the Fool card, numbered 0. So again, you've got the symbolism of zeros. It evokes the egg, and what we made today was spicy deviled eggs, which I think really bring to the table, what it is we're talking about with the Fool, because we're talking about new beginnings. We're talking about things that are, again, shaped like a 0 even, so that brings that to the table. And this recipe has hard-boiled eggs in it. It also has chipotle mayonnaise, which I think is delicious. You know, there's a lot of things that we can use in magic that bring a little spice, and those are extra good for protection. I put some black pepper. I put some Himalayan sea salt, which is good for, again, protection and blessings and cleansings, all which are really important things I think that we should think about if we're talking about the Fool card, because it has to do with you're venturing on a new journey. If this is a card that you've been getting over and over again in your readings and over again in your life, you're seeing different Fool imagery, then maybe you should consider making a recipe and trying to figure out literally what the taste and the smell and the feel of foods that are associated with this card are. So again, we use the spices. We use chipotle mayo. I used some chives, which again are of the onion family. All chives are really good for protection and things like that. I grew these in my window box. I used some basil, which again I grew on my windowsill. Basil's really good for exorcism. You know, one of the things that folklore tells us about basil is that you're supposed to curse when you're planting it. So it's a lot of fun, actually. Some people say they get out their aggressions when they're planting. So, if you're planting the basil, you can use the F word and all those other words that are not nice. And that's basically since it was supposed to ward off demons. So you were cursing to ward off these demons. And this was I was taught it was called, to sow the basil, which was to have this ritual where you would use these negative words to sort of get the demons out of the way. And this also will help you get the demons out of the way. I use black olives, which I think, again, is another ancestor food that I use for protection and for healing and for long life. This is something that olives were used for. And I also used some relish because cucumbers for coolness, so we're going to have calm and peace on our new journey. And also dill in the cucumbers for communication, so this is also something that's going to be important on our journey with the Fool, because there's a lot of playfulness here and sometimes the messages can be slightly confusing. So that's why I like to use certain herbs in this recipe that will really help us understand what the Fool is trying to tell us. So thank you so much for listening today. I'm going to eat these yummy, yummy deviled eggs. Here they go. Woo. If you want to come to the class at Tarot Society, I would love to see you there. You can contact them online or through their Facebook page. You can also go to my website, www.lilithdorsey.com, and look at all my upcoming events. If you want to get more of my recipes, there's the African American Cookbook you can get by me. You can get that on Amazon for download, or in my Etsy store, you can order a paper copy of it. And there's also a lot of really great recipes and tarot advice in my new book, Love Magic, published by Wiser. So pick up a copy of that online or wherever good books are sold, because this is certainly a good book. And I hope to see you next time for the next installment of Tarot Every Which Way. Food. Good night.